around 2015 and really began to grow. And as a result, companies are springing forward with new ideas to help these device companies manage their patients and manage them and help the physicians triage those patients, outside of normal clinic hours.
I love it. I think we mentioned it before. I come from an ICU nursing background, and when I see some of these innovations in remote monitoring, tracking those trends and being able to really change and intervene on cardiovascular care ahead of time or prevent readmissions and everything around that is it's an exciting time for healthcare, to say the least, especially for cardiac management. So love hearing about it. What major changes and drivers do you think will shape the industry in the next couple of years?
Yeah, I think what you're starting to see is the availability of data from a lot of these traditional devices that these larger medical device companies have been working with over the years is now becoming available. And there are companies coming to the forefront to help manage that data, to help present a more complete solution to the physician, allowing them to make better clinical decisions to manage their patients. And the trend that you're starting to really see are in the area of these wearables. If you look at some of the wearables that are entering the market, there's almost a new company coming to the forefront every day, it seems, whether it's cardiology specific or simply looking at other vitals within a person that are presenting itself. And the big question at the end of the day is, how do you bring in all of that disparate data? How do you facilitate something for the physician to allow them to take in all this new data with all these new devices and again, better triage those patients?
Absolutely. No, it comes twofold, right? The devices and then the actual, what do you do with all of that information? I'm seeing a lot for implants as well. And not only helping with the cardiovascular disease, but also with a lot of quality of life as well, which has been awesome. Pete, you've led and grown several teams in your time. Tell me a little bit about how you have found, evaluated, and developed that top talent.
Yeah, that's there's a lot in that question, Morgan. And in finding top talent, what you find is that a lot of the people you've worked with over the years have very similar DNA in that they understand, how to contribute, how to build an organization, how to develop the culture, how to figure out what it takes to grow a business and to get it standing up and moving forward and into hyper growth. One of the things I've really enjoyed throughout my career is the development of people. I'm sure there's a few that I've worked with in the past that are listening in on this call right now that are probably smiling when I talk about development. It is the most enjoyable thing that I do in any role. I've had a number of people ask me that question, several times. What's the favorite? What do you love most about what you do? And time again, at least over the last 15 years, it's been the development of people. It's seeing people push themselves beyond their normal comfort zone, growing, taking on more leadership responsibility, and really flourishing in a professional and personal way. So I've enjoyed that substantially.
That's incredible. I've in my time kind of working into the cardiovascular vertical, I would love to kind of pick your brain a little on you
Sure.
have a person, you're looking for talent, right? What's that mix of, because cardiovascular, EP, all those areas are very niche, especially when you're targeting whatever sector of the heart. But what's the mix of hard skills to intangibles needed for some of the top talent you're searching for, developing?
Yeah, Morgan, that's a great question. And people have asked me that several times over the years as I've sat down and built out the structure for a new team and what that team needs to look like. And I'll tell you, the DNA is very similar every time, regardless of service line. It's highly intelligent, energetic, passionate individuals that are coachable and are always learning every day. If you find a group of people that have those intangibles, you can teach them anything. I've been through some pretty rigid, structured, intense training courses throughout my career, and have always been able to pick up the new technology, the new service line, whether it's working with neurosurgery or OBGYNs or electrophysiologists. If you have that basic foundation, you'll be able to teach anybody the basics of and even the details of what they need to know clinically to sell whatever they're selling.
Absolutely. Makes total sense. I know everything changes literally on the daily when it comes to healthcare in general. So you got to stay on your toes and willing to learn and be adaptable for sure.
Sure.
Awesome. And then for emerging leaders in med tech, what advice would you give for a successful career in leadership in the cardiovascular industry?
Yeah, I'd say you get back to the basics, right? I mean, you always look for growth and development. You always think about putting a plan in place for yourself, right? That you can execute on over a period of time to put yourself in a position to take on that next leadership opportunity, so that when that opportunity arises, you've got a foundation to say, here's what I've done over the last year, 18 months, 2 years, 5 years to prepare myself for this role. And I think that's important. And it's important to always push yourself to take on that additional responsibility when it presents itself. Look at challenges as opportunities to provide solutions and contribute to a solution for a particular challenge that might be in front of an organization, a division, yourself specifically in the marketplace. And then just always be learning, just always have that sense every single day, wake up and want to learn something new. And if you do all those things and you find the right mentor or mentors that can help guide you through your development, you'll be in a great position to take on additional leadership and eventually become whatever you'd like to become within a particular company or organization.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, I would love to hear if there's any questions from anyone on right now or the FloodGate family. Does anyone have a question for us? Oh, I think I see one now. What is your number one piece of advice for people looking to move into leadership roles within the industry? I know you kind of touched on that a little bit, but maybe if they wanted to make that transition, how would they go about it?
Sure. I think you need to, again, look at historically what you've done to develop yourself, because the ultimate responsibility for your development is you as an individual. Obviously, you work for a manager or supervisor. You have other peers within your organization, but I think it's really just having the thought process in place on the front end to build a plan so that when you're looking at that next leadership opportunity, you're ready, you're prepared. And in the end, you're never really truly ready to understand, what that next role looks like, and that's all part of the challenge. But push yourself to get prepared for that. Learn from as many people as you can that have other leadership roles within the industry and outside the industry, so you can take that and take those practices and bring them in and internalize them yourself, and then apply them to your development.
Absolutely. Love it. And then I see one more question too. And anyone else who's on right now, if you have any questions, go ahead and put them in. But do you expect to see this increased growth continue in the remote monitoring space?
Yeah, I think there's a couple things at play here, right? I touched on this a little bit earlier regarding wearables and the wearable segment within cardiology. You see new products coming out by companies like Zoll, AliveCore, Cardio, iRhythm, Preventus, Barty. There's so many different companies that are introducing new products every day, many of them wearables that some are consumer-led. So they're entering the consumer space. Somebody can buy them off of Amazon, Best Buy, et cetera. And they get this data and they don't know what to do with it. Should they share that on an email with their physician? Do they need to call their doctor's office because they had what they thought was some type of irregularity? I think the challenge is going to be, how do you bring, again, all of this data that's either accessible via an app or a standalone website by that particular company, and bring it all together? And I think that's what physicians and clinics and hospitals are challenged with, is how do we manage all this data? And of course, it expands beyond cardiology as well, right? I mean, you have
Absolutely.
new devices that are popping up in other areas outside of cardiology, and hospitals and clinics are trying to figure out from an IT perspective, how do I bring this all in so that my physicians and my other clinicians can make the right decisions for their patients? Yep. And in the end, potentially prevent things from occurring, right? Because they have access to more data and more information. So that's the real challenge, but it will only grow, Morgan. It's going to continue to grow and develop and mature. And Yeah.
We're only right here, and we're about to fly high with it. It's going to be. I totally agree with you on that. And just to bring it up, I know right now it's very hot in the cardiovascular industry per se, but it's absolutely going to other industries too. And I think PaceMate's solutions, I think, we're kind of different verticals, if you were, therapeutic verticals as well. So big things. And then I see another great question. I know you and I have talked about it a little bit, but someone's kind of asking about how are reimbursement changes going to affect the industry, from our friend Danny.
Great question, Danny. As you're probably aware, several of the wearable companies, the device manufacturers, have these independent data testing facilities, IDTFs, in place so they could take a portion of the fee in to pay for the particular product. So the product may not cost a physician or a clinic or a hospital any outgoing capital, but the company through this IDTF will obtain the reimbursement associated with that particular device on the technical side. Now, the challenge there is, as you've stated, reimbursement changes every year. And CMS and Medicare make recommendations based on clinical observations. They make financial recommendations to reimbursement. So I think you're going to continue to see revenue fluctuate for those companies that are tied to IDTFs. But you're also going to see better clinical outcomes with a lot of this new technology. And these companies that provide better clinical outcomes will have stronger reimbursement because those in charge of setting those numbers, which impact commercial insurance as well, are going to see that there's a clinical benefit, to having these products in place. And thus, the reimbursement shouldn't negatively impact their revenue. But it's definitely going to go. It'll cycle. You'll see it go up or down, and I think a lot of this is going to be tied to the clinical outcomes that these devices can offer.
Yeah, absolutely a new space, and they're trying to figure out how to reimburse for it. And exactly, it makes total sense. Love hearing your input on it. Well, I think that is all of my questions I see. Pete, thank you again for taking the time. If anyone else has any remaining questions, go ahead and we'll ping out some information to answer those as well. Thanks, everyone.
Okay, fantastic. Thanks, everyone.
Bye.